Good afternoon, everybody. I am going live. I want to make sure if this is working. So I'm just going to check my device because, you know, technology 2019. I think we're working. Is the sound okay? If you can hear me now, I would love for you to say, "Hey, Darcie, everything's going good. I can hear ya." Some people are jumping in. We're gonna go really live, really soon. But I want to know if you can hear me now. If everything seems okay, just give me a heck yes in the comments. Because I have a couple of screens going. I think everything's going good at this point. Well, okay, good. Okay, so. Hey, Joe Lindsay. Okay, yeah, Clive. Yeah, he can hear me. Frogger Joe Lindsay, whoever you are, can you hear me? What an interesting name you have. Okay, guys, my name is Darcie Jeremy, and we are going to be talking about the top services that you can add for ergonomics in the office. It's almost February. It is February. It's still the beginning of the year. And we are talking about ways to just up your game. I have a couple of things going here. So I am going to try to just do one thing. Give me 1 second, guys, then we're going to jump into this training. I almost have this worked out perfectly. I just have one more side jump to do. Excuse me, guys. Okay. Now we are ready to go. Let's talk about ergonomics. Hello, Lars. How are you today? Let's talk about ergonomics. I'm going to jump back and forth throughout the comments. You let me know how it's going. If you think that you need some clarity, some issue, if you want to know how it applies to your business, so to speak, you let me know, and I will jump in and ask you to, and I will answer those questions for you. So let's jump into the training now, shall we? And I should say, before I jump into this, special thank you to all those peeps around the world coming in on this training right now. I know there's some people here from Europe, some North American peeps. Thank you so much for stopping what you're doing or just adding this to what you're doing in your day. I want to be providing you some awesome logistical planning stuff so you can get more out of what you're doing. Because the cool thing with ergonomics is once you know how to do an office ergonomic assessment, there are so many avenues you can serve your clients that doesn't get a lot of attention. So on that note, let's just jump into this. I'm going to share a little bit about myself to give myself some credibility, to show what I bring to the table before we get into the training today. So if you're in this group, you know where I'm coming from. I am the founder of ErgonomicsHelp.com. I have a Certified Professional Ergonomist accreditation. I have a master's degree in ergonomics, and my passion is ergonomics. I found that there was a real need on the internet to provide really quality information for those who already do office ergonomics assessments or want to do it, because I found that there was a lot of misinformation out there. And here's a quote. Let's start off on a good page right here. As a profession, ergonomists do a horrible job at marketing themselves. Yeah. And this leaves the surface wide open for other people who maybe don't have the best framework of how to apply ergonomics to the workplace and know the benefits of how they can help clients get to their goals. And if we don't have that information, if we're not passing that along, then I find that there's just so much misinformation on the web, on internet, websites, whatever. And let me know if you agree with that. Do you think as a profession, ergonomists do a horrible job at marketing themselves? And I'm not putting blame on anyone. I'm just saying that that's the way it's been in my experience. So as people in this group who know the value of offering ergonomics assessments in whatever avenue you find fits with your company. There's so much opportunity for us to be providing that credible information and actually helping our clients based on evidence get to where they want to be. Makes sense, right? When we are talking about serving our clients, there are a number of things that we need to know. And a lot of it has to do with attracting and getting those clients that are going to be giving us the most services, the most satisfaction at the end of the day. So this is what the training is going to be about. We need to build those relationships with those clients of ours, and then we need to show value in the services we provide. And then once we do that, it's very easy to get and to leverage our clients' needs and wants and desires into a really worthwhile relationship for all parties involved. And once you start adding value to your ideal client, your business can expand and you can ask for referrals. And that's how I got started, and that's how a lot of my colleagues got started too. Adding value, doing your services really well, and then when there's that mutual trust between you and your client, ask for that referral. And then you get into other companies. So it's no more talking about a cold call. It's more talking about, hey, let's get to our finish line. So that's the background that I wanted to share with you. But let's move on to what we can do for 2019. I wanted to give us a background in really how it can look when you're talking to your client. The first one I want to talk about is what is best known when we're talking about ergonomics assessments. And this is like 99.9% of people who have ever heard of ergonomics assessments in the office think of doing full assessments. But this is not the only thing you can offer when you're doing ergonomic services and providing value to your client, because as we know, it's that value proposition with that client for years and years and years to come. Once you prove yourself with doing a quality, any of the services that I'm going to be talking about today, the more you're opening door and building that value ladder for that relationship to grow and be profitable. So when we're talking about full assessments, it's most likely going to be on a one-to-one situation here. If you are going to be anticipating a lot of ergonomics assessments in a specific area or a specific workplace, then you might want to discount it, because that can be very, very profitable. Let's say you'll be saving, your time and your money by going to that workplace and serving that person. I want to talk a bit about that profitability thing. Now, my disclaimer is that it depends on what market you're in and what your expertise is and all that good stuff. But an ergonomic assessment can be anywhere between $250 and like $1,000, depending on where you are. If you're the only person in your area doing office ergonomic assessments, then of course you can charge more. But if there's more competition, then you have to base on what the market and the competition is saying it is, how much an ergonomic assessment is. So you don't want to price yourself out of your market. But in saying that, ergonomics assessments can be quite profitable. Imagine if you land a deal when there's 30 office assessments that you're going to be doing, and you price it out at like, let's say the low end, $300 or $400, then, or even less than that because there's so many, you're going to be making a substantial amount of money in just a short period of time. Another thing I want to talk about is follow-ups. One of the members of our Facebook group brought up a point the other day in that when he is recommending equipment for offices, how do you make sure that things are adjusted within what would be considered optimal? Well, a couple of ways you can do that. First of all, you can put in your contract that that you can inflate the price a bit so you can visit those people again, right? So that's already in the contract. Or maybe a little bit more futuristic for some of us, we can try to do our follow-ups virtually, right? On Skype or any of the other video ways that we have available to us in 2019. So we don't have to spend our time, our money traveling to that workplace. And most of the time, a simple visual inspection, we can let the person know whether or not they're within what you imagined as an ergonomic guideline for them. Okay, so how does that sound so far to people? So that's the first one. And this first one, the full assessments, this one everyone knows around the world. One-to-one, there's a lot of profitability here depending on how much you price your assessments as, but there is full value here. The next thing I want to talk about is workers' compensation support. And the cool thing with workers' compensation support is that it's not a cool thing that someone's getting injured at work. Let me say that as my disclaimer. But when someone is away from work on a compensable work-related injury, then many times a workers' compensation board will require an ergonomic assessment for them to return back to work. I've done this countless times. Sometimes workers' compensation has rates for ergonomists to come in and do an assessment. Otherwise, they could care less, or other times they could care less. They just want the ergonomic assessment done and to it be resolved, allowing that person to return back to work. I'm going to be jumping into non-compensable, so that means non-workers' compensation related claims in a bit, but workers' compensation is a huge win for you for ergonomics assessments. And oftentimes, you're going to have to establish that relationship with your ideal client. So imagine all the clients in your area, the clients that you could imagine spending some time with, that doesn't cost all your time, doesn't give you headaches, that you enjoy working with. You might want to introduce yourself to them. So when the workers' compensation claim comes, you can provide them value. The other thing I want to talk about, based on my experience too, you usually need a really fast turnaround on the report for these, because when someone is off work because of an injury, especially a workers' compensation injury, the rate of the cost for that claim, it increases so fast. Like after the first week, it really can increase at a compound rate factor. It's actually quite shocking. Yeah, a little bit of background with me. I actually wore 3 hats in this situation. When I started my career, I started off at a workers' compensation board doing participatory ergonomics programs. But then I learned about the whole injury compensation process. And then I worked for a huge organization managing the ergonomics programs and managing injuries and compensation in general, both non-compensable and compensable workers' injuries. And then I'm working as a consultant, where I'm using all this knowledge to get into these places and helping them. So let's move on. So we're talking about non-compensable time loss injuries. And non-compensable time, thanks, Sandy, I saw your comment there. Sorry guys, I'm a little bit behind on the comments, but I'm trying, right? Technology 2019. So return to work injuries we're talking about non-compensable time loss injuries. So time loss injuries, let's say someone is lifting, there's something on the weekend and they pulled their back, or they slipped on the ice and broke their elbow, and they're going to need some change in their working environment for them to return back to work. Like for instance, I've done a number of non-compensable types of ergonomic assessments that need to be done quickly, that is less how their workstation is set up. Ideally, it's more set up just to get them back to work. So let's say someone is a broken elbow and they're right hand dominant and they broke the right hand side. How do you go about solving that situation? Well, you look at different types of mice, that are either like a rollerball or left-handed mice, or maybe voice or the foot pedal, something to relieve the tension on the right arm. I digress. As you can see, this is my passion. So sometimes workers' compensation claims can have a set price for ergonomics assessments. So there could be a bit of a difference in how you price this based on your clients that you serve. And lastly, this is the really cool thing. Some workplaces will even want a full ergonomic assessment from you if they know that this is a way that they can lower their costs, even if they don't know that something is compensable. So a claim has been accepted by the Workers' Compensation Board, or if it's not compensable. Because have you ever been in those situations before when, let's say, someone could have got hurt at work, but they're not sure if it's related to work or not work related? I used to be in those situations all the time. So the way you would handle this is you have to establish the value for doing ergonomics assessment to get a fast and timely return to work, and safe as well. Once that workplace knows, a lot of times they will call you in and just do a bare bones assessment to make sure that person comes back to work, to limit those costs associated with them not being at work, which is so much. Okay. The next thing I'm going to talk about, and it's something I feel is a huge opportunity for everyone right now doing ergonomics assessments. And I am serious about this. If you are doing ergonomics assessments and you haven't made a relationship with a physio, a chiro, or some sort of clinic, you are leaving money on the table. Because think about this. People who go see a physio or whatever, a clinic, because of a work-related injury or soreness that is likely attributed to how their work's set up, if that therapist puts them back to work, well, treats them, and when treatment's over, they just go back to work, and no one's addressed the root cause of that person's workstation, what do you think is going to happen at the end of the day? Well, that person is just going to be experiencing the pains and the discomfort of everything because that workstation has not been set up for that person to work optimally. So you get that? So someone's injured, they go to their physio or whatever, they get treatment, they feel better, they feel awesome, they go back to the original situation that resulted in their pain and their injury, and then what happens? They get pain and injured again. So in the best possible situation, it's teaming up with a physio or chiro or whatever and offering treatments, along with treatments, ergonomics assessments for those people. Or maybe it's that you already run a clinic and you see that there's a huge opportunity to do a side hustle to help with your revenue throughout the whole year and address those ergonomic issues in that person's office when treatment is over, or maybe when treatment begins. So if it's the one thing that you do for 2019, adding to your ergonomic services, make that relationship, try to get a win-win situation going with local clinics. The next type of thing that you can offer doing ergonomics assessments is, I guess, something pretty well known, and this is basically just a normal presentation. There's a reason why I think this is so valuable for people who want to expand their services and make 2019, the best year ever for ergonomics assessments. And that's when we're talking about the value ladder. So let's take a step back and talk about what an ergonomics presentation is. Most likely these are like a lunch and learn. As a consultant, you come in and you deliver basically how that person can adjust their own workstation without a more expensive one-on-one consultation. Many times in my experience, I don't know about you guys, and you guys can let me know. I think that this is more of a check in the box. Management can say, hey, we trained everybody on how to set up their ergonomics. I don't know why they're getting injured, or something like that. You know what I mean? It's kind of a glasses half full type of statement, but at the same time, there is a lot of value with you coming into a workplace and doing these types of presentations. Why? Well, like I said before, this is a way for you to get in the foot in the door and demonstrate your expertise. It's very much like a value ladder. You show that workplace that you know your stuff, that you can tell people how to set up their workstation, that workplace, and then if there's any need that arises, any fire that needs to put up, ergonomics-wise, you're that person. I've gotten into many companies via this approach. And I've even done shorter presentations when I've tried to expand my services when it's a very, very cheap ergonomic presentation, just to show my competence in training. And oftentimes then I get called in for those return to work and other types of services. But we kind of need to establish trust sometimes when the need isn't immediate. Let's move on. Now, this next thing that I'm going to be bringing up, and we're almost through this presentation, and this next thing that I'm going to be bringing up is kind of like a step above a normal presentation lunch and learn. And this is for those companies that want a little bit more than a check in a box for the ergonomic solutions. And what involved with this one is you do your typical ergonomics presentation. It might take 40 minutes, 30 minutes. You tell people how to adjust their setup. And then what you do, you encourage people to do their setup. You tell them that you're going to be doing a very short checkup after that original presentation. And this is nothing in depth. This is just high level. Go in and just make sure that people aren't mousing with their mouse above their head, or really something obscure like that, because you don't have time. It might be only 2 to 5 minutes per person just to do a really quick check. But in terms of that ladder value that I was talking about before, there's a huge opportunity here to almost do like a quick survey of what is available in that person's, in that workplace, so that you can add value and tell that workplace where there's really high need individuals that need a thorough ergonomic assessment. So you see how that works? So you get your foot in the door, you do checkups, and then you can parlay that into more in-depth ergonomic assessments. Also, big opportunity. If you're going to add something here that really could expand your business in 2019, I definitely recommend this. Next thing I want to talk about is train the trainer. And this is where that workplace wants to save the cost of a consultant every time, especially those low-hanging fruit ergonomic situations, every time somebody wants an ergonomic assessment. So instead of calling an expensive outside ergonomist to come in and look at every situation, their in-house resources maybe can solve 50 or 60% of the ergonomic situations. So this is how it fits into the overall puzzle piece that we're offering here. When you do this service, you go into that person's workplace and you train maybe like one or a group of people, not very many, how to do a whole in-depth ergonomic assessment. It's very much like the normal presentation that you have, but with a lot of example and a lot of hands-on stuff. And then this is the cool thing with this. Like I said, for those complex ergonomics assessments that really need to be done, you can be that person to go in and maybe it's you give them a little bit of a price cut because you don't have to spend any money marketing or finding those people, then you can do your ergonomics services on a one-to-one service, or you can do like a return to work stuff. It all is dependent on that relationship first, right? And then what you can be doing is prioritizing discomfort. The way that you can be doing this is through a discomfort survey. Perhaps you can do this very low on that value ladder that I was talking about. So you offer something at a really reduced price that's not going to cost you very much time. Maybe it's just administrative activities from your part. And then over time, the value of that relationship with that client just increases. So you have to invest a little bit of time that won't cost you anything, and then over time that relationship blossoms. So what we're talking about today is the prioritizing discomfort. So perhaps what you offer to a client, you give them discomfort surveys or something electronic that won't cost you that much time or money. And then what you basically do, you target where there's certain people that may need more attention, whether it's you coming in or, I don't know, there's so many creative activities that you can provide your customers in this. There really is, but it's just starting that relationship with that client anyway. So we talked about, having those presentations. We talked about doing something like this, discomfort, prioritizing discomfort for that person at like a very low cost. Yeah, there's so much potential here. And I believe this is the last thing that I'm going to be talking to you today about how you can add value to your ergonomics assessments and services for 2019. And this is for those organizations who want to add ergonomics to their skill set. So instead of charging a client for your services, you are doing this internally for your colleagues. But you need to make sure that you incorporate the time, and this is my word of guidance because I used to get trapped in this debacle too. You have to incorporate time to travel to your ergonomics assessment location. If you have a big workplace, you have to incorporate time for the assessment, you have to incorporate time for the report, and time for the follow-up. So for something that may only take 30 minutes, the assessment, but it could take 5 minutes to walk there, plus the 30-minute assessment, then 5 minutes to walk back, and then doing the report, which may take a lot longer. You have to make sure that you make time to do it, because the more ergonomics assessments you do in a workplace internally, the less time that you have for your other work duties that you are mainly responsible for. So those are the major things that I think. I'm just looking at our comments right now. Excuse me, this is what happens when you multitask, right? You don't do anything very well. So I'm just looking at the comments. Clive, you're saying that's a good idea. Thank you. And Peter says he's watching, learning, and listening. Cool. I'm glad, guys. So I do have an action for you. And I find if I'm not on top of getting actions into place immediately, there's so much on my plate, I just forget. So I want you to ask yourself and leave a comment. What on this list will you add to your services this year? So what is it? What is it that really stood up to you that you think that you can incorporate immediately? Is it making those relationships with those local clients around or local clinics? Is it doing a presentation for local workplaces? What is it? So really challenge yourself to see what you would want to incorporate for 2019. So are there some services you haven't even considered yet? Leave a comment. Let me know. if there's anything in particular that you think would be super valuable for you for 2019. Ah, Clive, cool. Presentations to get in the foot in the door. And I'm glad you said that, because it's that long-term relationship. It's that value ladder that we often forget in exchange of the really short field of view optics of just getting, you know, $1,000 here or $1,000 there. If it's a client that you really want to work with, you know, that they treat their employees really well, if people really like working there, if they have a good reputation in the community, if that's the client that you want, then perhaps it's best to go at something like that, when you lower the cost of presentations to get your foot in the door, to show your value. But yeah, so if you're at this point and you found that there's a lot of value in this, I do offer training for health professionals who want to learn how to do ergonomics assessments. And if this is you, if you've thought that there's a lot of value in, maybe if you work in a clinic and you want to learn how to do office ergonomics assessments, or maybe you're just out of school and you want to learn how to do a thorough office ergonomics assessment to add value to what you do. I'm going to share with you a link in just a moment. I'll leave it in the comment at some point. I'll leave it in the comment, and I'm going to give you a discount until tomorrow at 6 p.m. If you are interested in taking the next steps in learning how to do quality office ergonomic assessments. Until tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, $200 off the course. I'm just looking at the comment here. Lars is saying, I am planning to do some lunch break presentations that I plan to offer together with a chiropractor. I know. That is so clever, Lars. Making relationships with local service providers. Wow, what a win-win. What a great idea. Let's see, I think I have one more slide to go. Oh, right. So one last thing before closing out today. You have to be reasonable with your forecasts. You don't want to be too hard on yourself, because it's very much a marathon when it comes to ergonomics assessments. And very much, I like to plan on a quarterly basis so I can reevaluate every 90 days and see if I'm on target with whatever my forecast is going to be. And when I was working for a large workplace, when I was managing the ergonomics program, I used to run my numbers because that's where I found the most value. And I used to run my numbers and see where I served, who used the most of my services, what kind of services they used. And then I looked to improve upon company, when I consult, I do this. And I work towards companies that I haven't touched base with for a while and providing them value, making contact with them. And yeah, going forward, you're not responsible for how people react to you doing a cold call, or you networking, or whatever other value proposition that you have to win clients and get money. But you can control how much effort and how much value that you bring to people. But you can't, obviously you can't control what their reaction is. And I keep that in mind, because sometimes when we are cold calling places and we are looking to land all of those customers, sometimes you just don't know what other factors that they have in play. That's just something to think about. Okay, so that is that for this presentation today, this webinar. I hope that I gave you tons of value. And if you are interested in improving your knowledge in how to do quality office ergonomics assessments, and you're looking for a step-by-step blueprint of all the tools, the processes, everything that you would need to do a quality office ergonomic assessment, I'm going to put the link in the comments, and you can make that investment in yourself. I'm giving you a discount, $200 off the course, and it's going to be available until tomorrow at 6 p.m. Okay, so on that note, thank you so much for your time. I really, really hope you have a fantastic Friday. It's the end of the week. Hope it's warm where you are. And I'll see you later on in this group. I'm so happy you guys are in the group. I'm really enjoying it. I hope you guys are too. So let's end this. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.